notes.
There we go.
All right, I'm Claire Schlaff. I joined the White Lake Public Advisory Council in 2009 and was a member until we delisted in 2014. This isn't good. I gotta move this. On this map, the DuPont property, which is now called Chemours, I'm sorry. I need a place to put this. Okay, it's, you can easily pick out the DuPont property because of its giant line pile. And you can also see the vault from the former Hooker property where, that was built in 1981, I believe. And it contains the waste from that site. In 2013, the White Lake PAC agreed that although there was still work to be done at DuPont, the criteria had been met for delisting White Lake as an area of concern. So the PAC wrote a letter to formally request that the state continue overseeing the cleanup of the DuPont property. The State Department, now called Eagle, has continued its oversight. I think my cursor needs to move. I'm not going to be able to show it to you on there. But in 2014, White Lake was delisted as an area of concern, and you can see that that coincided with the end of the facility of investigation that was part of the cleanup of the Chemours, DuPont Chemours property. Then shortly after that, the next year, DuPont spun off to Chemours. So now Chemours was responsible for the cleanup of the property. And then 3 years later, the Chemours Environmental Impact Committee was formed. And that coincided with the end of the facility investigation for the corrective measures obligations of the Chemours property. And it was the beginning of the corrective measures study. And then the next big event that happened between then and now just happened in 2024. Up until 2024, there was no enforceable document to move this cleanup along. But now, on July 9th, 2024, we finally got that signed, and things are really starting to move now. And so now we're at the end of the corrective measures study and beginning of the corrective measures implementation. During DuPont's facility investigation, that first part, there were 3 types of reports completed between 1991 and 2015. There were reports about the solid and liquid landfills at the site, known as waste management units, WMUs, and areas of concern, AOCs. Reports about the contaminated groundwater, and reports about the risk to human health and the environment called environmental indicators. This 2018 map shows the locations of the landfills. There were no liners. Waste was dumped in the sandy soil while the industry was operating between 1956 and 1996. In addition to the landfills, CEIC has been concerned about the effects of the contamination on Pearson Creek, which you see on the left there, west of Pearson Creek landfill, and Mirror Lake, which is south of the lime pile. There are 2 plumes of contaminated groundwater. The manufacturing area plume, discovered in 1961, flows southeast toward White Lake. DuPont began pumping and treating the groundwater in the 1960s to remove contaminants, and residences within the plume are provided with water from the city of Montague. The Pearson Creek landfill plume flows toward the southwest, toward Pearson Creek. I want to emphasize that evaluations of the drinking water of residents living near these plumes have been conducted by the White Lake PAC and CEIC and Eagle and DuPont and Chemours, and our drinking water has been found to be safe. Here's a close-up of the manufacturing area plume. Interceptors wells, shown as yellow dots, are located within the capture zone of the plume, outlined by that purple line. They pump contaminated groundwater and prevent it from flowing into White Lake. For groundwater outside of the capture zone, Chemours has a mixing zone permit, which means that Eagle keeps track of data that are collected in compliance wells, shown as red dots, to assure that the level of contaminants that enter the lake are safe for humans and wildlife. The orange outline on this map shows the edges of the plume from Pearson Creek landfill. There are monitoring wells west of the landfill, but there are no interceptor wells to capture the contaminants. There are indications from Eagle that if Chemours decides to apply for a permit for a mixing zone in Pearson Creek, it may be allowable because contaminants have not been found in the main channel of the creek. CEIC is advocating for the removal of Pearson Creek landfill. A third category of reports during the facility investigation are Eagle's 2 environmental indicators documents. The 2 documents, current human exposures under control and migration of contaminated groundwater under control, are essential in the corrective action process. The DuPont Montague site is rated as a medium priority. Therefore, a full cleanup of the sources of contamination is not required if these 2 milestones have been met. The focus is on human viability, not ecosystem viability. The next big event was the 2015 DuPont spinoff to the Chemours Company, which happened to occur near the end of the DuPont Montague facility investigation. Chemours then took on the liability for the cleanup of the site. The third big event occurred in 2018. Residents formed the Chemours Environmental Impact Committee, and this was following a meeting at the White River Township Hall on July 9th, 2018. CEIC is an authorized committee of the White River Township Board of Trustees. Now, 6 years later, CEIC continues to meet twice monthly and to educate ourselves about the site. We learn about applicable rules and laws and about chemicals and available cleanup methods. CEIC communicates with Eagle, Chemours, environmental organizations, elected officials, and attorneys, and conducts public outreach activities, advocating for cleanup, restoration, and conservation of the property. It is clear to us that it is imperative to have local people committed to overseeing the cleanup of a contaminated site in their neighborhood. This summary from a Chemours feasibility study lists criteria to help decide what methods to use in the cleanup, including how well it protects human health and the environment, effectiveness, compliance with laws, and cost. The last consideration on the list is community acceptance. Community acceptance is a factor in cleanup decisions. This is why we need our entire community to demand that this property be cleaned up. The 2 main components of the corrective measures study, which was the second one in their process, are the 2018 CMS work plan and the 2021 vapor intrusion to indoor pathway evaluation plan. The CMS work plan describes each of the WMUs and AOCs, plus Mirror Lake and Pearson Creek. A table attached to the 2018 work plan gives us a clue as to what Chemours is considering as cleanup solutions for each unit. Options range from simply restricting use of the landfill area to removing the landfill and disposing of the waste either off-site or on-site in an engineered landfill. In contrast to Chemours' array of proposed acceptable cleanup solutions, CEIC's goals include removal of the landfills and all sources of contamination, cleanup and restoration of Mirror Lake, removal of the massive lime pile, and restoration of the ravine underneath, permanent conservation of portions of the property, including the White Lake shoreline parcel. The other report in the corrective measures study is the vapor intrusion evaluation plan. The concept of vapor intrusion is illustrated here. Basically, chemical vapors rising from contaminated soil or groundwater could migrate into current or future buildings. The outcomes of this investigation could have a big impact on Chemours' options regarding future use of the property. Chemours is currently wrapping up this investigation. The final event I want to emphasize today is the signing of the Corrective Action Consent Order, or CACO, on July 9th, 2024. This enforceable document gives EGLE the authority to direct Chemours to complete certain actions that are required by law and to enforce timelines. Now that it has been signed, things are happening. The corrective measures study report is estimated to be completed by the end of November. Chemours is also concurrently working on its corrective measures implementation work plan. In this plan, they will put forth their plans for the cleanup of the site. This is expected to be completed in February. When this is introduced, the public will have an opportunity to review the plan and to comment on it. This means that we need to shift into overdrive on our goals. Regarding cleanup, we need to be prepared to contest portions of Chemours' cleanup plan if we disagree. Regarding conservation, Chemours may begin efforts to sell portions of their property when they have a plan for the entire site, which would be soon. CEIC met with the Land Conservancy of West Michigan last month to ask them to help us navigate through this process. Regarding restoration of Sedoni Bayou, we have already been in overdrive since 2023, and I have some flyers out here, if you didn't get them, about our next visioning session, which is an opportunity for the community to have input on what happens with Sedoni Bayou. Regarding Mirror Lake, we are in the process of contesting what we think are inadequate proposals by Chemours for the lake's restoration. Under the leadership of Marty Holtgren, an aquatic biologist, CEIC has helped with 2 grants so far toward the restoration of Sedoni Bayou. CEIC is not a nonprofit organization, but we have wonderful fiscal sponsors who have stepped in to help us: the Muskegon Conservation District and the Muskegon County Environmental Coordinating Council. Another grant application is due this December. Again, I want to put a plug in for our visioning session. It's going to be December 4th at 5 o'clock at the White Lake Community Library. So this is my last slide. We need your help. Here are ways you can help promote the conservation and cleanup of the Chemours property. Everybody here can check Eagle's website about the cleanup. It's the Chemours Montague Facility Correction Action Information website. And now that the enforceable document has been signed, they have redesigned this website, and all the newest documents are highlighted in yellow, and you can actually even go on and ask them to be, you can put your email on their list to be notified when another new document comes out. Because of this, we became aware of, on October 15th, Chemours submitted a document to Eagle because it was due, and we noticed that their plans for the cleanup of Mirror Lake are to just remove the line and just let Lima let it just recover from there. And so we're now in the process of trying to intervene and say, we think you might need to do a little more than just that. So I'd like you to please sign up for Eagle, for email notifications. Make it right Chemours@gmail.com. We have over 300 people on our list so far, but when it comes to time for that public comment period, and if there's a public meeting, we need everybody to show up, because as we saw earlier, community acceptance is a factor in the decision that they make. The laws are not on our side. Chemours does not have to clean up their property. They can do several things that would be less than cleaning up the sources. But if we have the community behind us, it will help a lot. So I'm going to leave that up for a minute. You can see all the different ways you can help. And please pick up a flyer. And if you would like to leave your email with me today, I'll just take the back of one of these flyers and we can write your email down. Thank you.